All right, so when the credits to this movie end or start rolling, you are going to have two reactions. One, you're going to be sitting there saying, wow, that was a lot. I really need to let that sit with me for a very long time because there's just a lot that happened. I got to let that sit with me. I don't even know how to feel or what to describe that movie as right now. Got to let it sit with me. And two, you're going to be telling yourself, my God, I got to take the biggest shit of 2022 because that was a lot to hold in. I mean, at least that was my reaction. I've become a master at holding it in since Batman v Superman came out because halfway through that movie, I almost had to bust, and luckily my pee just disappeared. I still have no idea what happened in that theater, but it just disappeared, and from then on out, I've been able to be very good at holding it in. So this was another example of that, but y'all don't want to hear about that at all. I don't know why that's my intro, but I mean, essentially that's my intro because that's just my craziness, that crazy story I just told you about me holding it in. It's not really compared to the craziness that's in this film, but it's something relatable. I don't know. Guys, this is Babylon. Hey guys, it's your guy in the chair here, and look, this is my review for Babylon, starring Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Diego Calva, and Tobey Maguire, kinda sorta. And our movie was directed by Damien Chazelle, one of my favorite directors of all time. Not my favorite, but one of my favorites, definitely. And our story follows three, I'm going to call them up-and-coming players in the Hollywood game. I mean, Brad Pitt is more so the seasoned vet in Hollywood. Margot Robbie is the up-and-coming superstar that she thinks she is in the world. And Diego Calva just plays this guy who literally does whatever job he needs to get his foot in the door so that he can become the Hollywood director that he wants to become. And basically we are following all three of these characters' stories throughout a film, where the basis around it is the film industry is transitioning from silent films to talkies. That's the best way I can describe this film, because I mean, honestly, that's really what this is. You're following three characters throughout their lives, and the transition of films going from silence to talkies. I mean, that's really what it is. Now, the way I'm going to review this film, people are going to, kind of, I don't know if this is what you guys will think, but personally, I feel like the way I'm going to review it, it'll make it seem as if I didn't either really enjoy the film or I didn't really understand what it was trying to portray. So I'm going to address that part first. First of all, I did enjoy this film. I thought, I did have to let it sit with me for a minute because a lot in this movie happened. I highly doubt you're going to be able to read any review or watch anybody talk about this film and not use the term a lot of crap happened in this film. Now that could be taken as good or bad. Like anything, all the early reviews for this film that I saw said used words like chaos, madness, craziness, blah blah blah. It's really comparable to Wolf of Wall Street in the sense that it's the same tone of movie, just a cocaine-filled thrill ride for 3 hours. It's literally the same tone of movie, but for me, Wolf of Wall Street is an example of how to do a 3-hour movie like that with that kind of tone correctly, and Babylon is the example of how to do that and you can still have mistakes, or not necessarily doing it the way Wolf of Wall Street did. Now, you're going to easily be able to draw comparisons between the two films because, like I said, they're the same tone of movie, just absolute batshit craziness going on throughout the film. But here's where they differentiate. They both have a method of madness to them that in Wolf of Wall Street you can resonate with more, because the method to the madness is the richer that Belfort and his friends get, the more crazier the film gets, because that's how things work in life. Like the more richer you get, you're just doing whatever you want, you're living however you want. Like there's a method to the madness in Wolf of Wall Street. In this film, while there is a method to the madness, the method part of this film does not happen until 30% or until the last 30% of the film, in my opinion. The madness part of this film is the first 70% of this film, because like I said, there's just a lot going on in this world. Now, Hollywood is a crazy place to be in general, and I understand that Damien Chazelle is trying to portray how crazy Hollywood is and just how, all over the place it was. And he did that. He did a very good job of that. But here's what I mean by just absolutely a lot going on. First of all, in the intro to this film, the first, I'd say 15 minutes, I see an elephant shit on a guy. I saw a woman piss in a guy's mouth. And I saw what I can only assume is a replica of the Eiffel Tower or the some type of, that clock tower, that really big clock, Big Ben's clock, I think that's what it's called. Some sort of tower went into a guy's bumhole, and that's a lot. That's a lot for me to see in 15 minutes, man. It's just a lot of craziness. And then throughout the film, I can honestly say for the first 70% of the film, every single scene had something in it where whether or not you can take some, let's say for example, if they're trying to display a message or get something or get a point across to you in the audience by portraying a certain scene a certain way. They're trying to get a message across, and honestly, you're taking that message very seriously up until a point, and that point is when something just absolutely ridiculous or out of this world happens, and it just takes you completely out of the scene. That is the first 70% of this movie. There's something in literally each and every scene that can just take you right out of the movie and be like, why the hell did we need to include that? Why is that in here? What is going on? Blase, blase. Like I said, the difference between Wolf of Wall Street's Method of Madness and Babylon's Method of Madness, Wolf of Wall Street contained its method of madness throughout the entire film. Like, it was following it. It was staying steady with the film. This one didn't portray its method until the end. And honestly, now, with that being said, there's a very powerful message that this movie is portraying here. I mean, it is very powerful. I mean, about the Hollywood industry in general. And the ending really emphasizes that point. Like, the movie ends very strongly, but my thing is, I'm just sitting through the first 2 hours and maybe 15 minutes of the film. And literally at one point in time, I'm literally telling myself, I don't think there's a point to all this shit being this crazy. I think this movie is just being crazy to be crazy. And then the ending happens, and then I'm like, okay, so there was a point to that. It just took forever to get there. Like, depending on, and basically what I'm all trying to say there is, your reaction to this or your perception of this film will depend on how you respond to the Method of Madness, because like, while this film does have very powerful themes and very powerful lessons throughout the movie, I feel like all the craziness and all the just nonsense can overshadow that. Like, I feel like a lot of people can come out saying, if they're really like big into film and they're really like, diehard moviegoers such as myself, we can me and my friends, we came out and we all were talking about how the film definitely had powerful lessons about the life in Hollywood itself, and how, each, like, depending on who you are in this industry, like, you can end up absolutely anywhere. Like, your rise to stardom can be just as fast as your fall off. Like, it's a really powerful message going on here, but at the same time, like, my friends all got that message, but at the same time, I was telling them, I'm like, yo, I really feel like we can come out of this movie saying, like, that's what this movie was about, but other people are just going to come out either saying that was long as hell and ridiculous as fuck. Like, they're only going to remember, like, the scenes where people are getting shitted on, where people are literally having their heads stuck in toilet seats, and just absolute madness. And while the maddening scenes are very entertaining to an extent, it's like sometimes I'm really just telling myself that didn't need to be a part of this scene. That really didn't need to be here in this part of the movie. Like, when somebody's actually saying something that should be taken very seriously, it's just something stupid happens and it just takes me completely out of it. That's just how I feel about the whole method to the madness of this film. Now, as far as the performances go, Brad Pitt, I felt like his performance got very much more stronger throughout the film itself, because, like I said, he's the seasoned vet. He's the guy who's already been in Hollywood, and now he's transitioning from the silent films to the talkies, and he's one of the guys who sees just as fast as his rise was in Hollywood, it can be just as fast as you fall off. Like, one film can be your entire career right there. Like, it's really incredible to see, and his performance gets stronger throughout the film. Each character in this film does have a point to be made, and all of their points are definitely made in the film. Like I said, it's just depending on which part of that point are you actually going to pay attention to. Are you going to pay attention to the maddening part, or the actual message in the film? Like I said, the madness in this film can definitely overshadow the entire message, because it's just a lot of chaos going on in this film. It's a lot of craziness, man. Now, before I get to the rest of the performances, I do want to say one of the best scenes in the film for me was where they, like, the very first, where we get a glimpse of what the circumstances were like actually having to film, like, with sound and things like that. Like, the conditions these people had to work in were ridiculous. They couldn't have AC on. Like, they had to be very still. You couldn't have pin in your boots. You had to wear rubber soles. I mean, that scene is incredible. Now, Damien Chazelle directed the hell out of that scene, and I will say that's the only scene in the movie where literally everything that happens is entertaining as hell and it's supposed to be there. Like that was the perfect scene, perfect reaction, the perfect everything. Like that scene was just perfect. I loved everything about that scene. It's complete madness. It's crazy. Anytime a door opens, everybody just goes batshit crazy. I mean, it's completely like what they had to do to actually capture sound when films were first transitioning to talkies is absolutely ridiculous. I can only imagine what they had to go through, but that's one of my favorite scenes in the film. As far as Margot Robbie's performance, look, her performance is all over the place. But I cannot leave that theater without saying that's one of the most talented actresses in Hollywood today, because there is a scene where she literally has to cry on cue multiple times and does it to perfection. I mean, Margot Robbie's one of the greatest talents in Hollywood today. Like, she's absolutely incredible. With that being said, most of her performance is probably due to, you know, her actually being on. I'm not sure if she actually took cocaine in between sets and takes and things like that, but it's a lot that she's doing in this film that just makes you go, what the hell? Now, I will say what her character plays, I feel like her character is a portrayal of her, like, I think our initial reaction to her in Wolf of Wall Street. Like, I feel like her character here, like as fast as she rose to stardom, is literally how she got as big as she did today. Because I'm pretty sure all you guys know where you were when Margot Robbie walked out of those doors in Wolf of Wall Street, and her body was just glistening off the light. My God, I'm not gonna put the picture up there because it's an explicit image, but I don't even have to put the picture up there. Y'all know what image I'm talking about. When that girl walks out of them doors, Margot Robbie, a star was literally born right then and there. She was putting all and every damn Hollywood project after that. And this movie, the way guys are literally chasing her, I felt like it was either a jab at the way, like, you know, Hollywood and, you know, fans reacted to her after that movie and things like that. But her performance overall is a very strong one. Like I said, each character has a point to be made, and their points are really made throughout the ending of the film. And Margot Robbie's one of those characters where Margot Robbie's storyline in this film kind of takes me between her rise to stardom in Wolf of Wall Street and the story that they portrayed in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It kind of takes me back and forth between those, because she portrayed Sharon Stone, who of course was a victim of one of the Manson murders, and in this film she literally gets involved with Tobey Maguire's character, who's only in the movie for like one scene, but I mean, it's an okay scene. I'm not gonna say it's like it completely like stole the show or anything like that, because it didn't. It's an okay scene. He's just a really creepy ass guy. He's honestly like a Manson-esque character, if we're being real. Like, that's what Tobey Maguire's portraying. She literally runs into a character like that in this film, and she's getting caught up, and it's kind of showing like how gambling debts and, you know, how big of a star you can be off screen. Whatever happens off screen in your life in Hollywood can really get you into the craziest shit possible, or and get you into the craziest trouble, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And that's really where Margot Robbie's whole performance went. Like, she did a really good job in the film, and like I said, she made a very valid point and had a very powerful message to portray at the end of this film. But it's just really what your mind decides to remember, because I mean, you can either remember the good that she did in the film or just the absolute craziness she did in the film. And the craziness, like I said, can easily overshadow easily overshadow the good or the message in the film. But Diego Calva's character, I will say, was the strongest point of this entire film. I mean, well, he was, I'd say he's the strongest, but there's definitely a character in this movie that I think he was supposed to be Sidney Poitier. His name was Sid Palmer. That's very close. I don't know if he was supposed to be the actual portrayal of Sid Poitier, but before I get to Diego Calva's character, I'll talk about the Sid Palmer character. He was a black man who in the beginning of the film was just playing in a lot of bands and a lot of Hollywood parties, then finally was able to take that music, his love of music, and put that on screen, and he became a movie star himself. And there's literally a point in the film where he has to put blackface on to match the color of the rest of the band, because the lighting on him is just too bright and it's making it seem like they're not the same shade of color, which that was one of the most gut-wrenching, powerful scenes in the film. Like I said, this movie's ending is very strong. It has a lot of points to be made, and there's a lot of messages just about the life in Hollywood in general, even people who would do anything to sell out to become stars, how far people are willing to go, like what Hollywood has you doing, embarrassing yourself, literally doing anything against your dignity Hollywood would have you do to become a star. And it's really the question of, would you be willing to do it? And Sid Palmer's storyline in this film was definitely a testament to that, and I thought it was one of the strongest points in the film. Now, Diego Calva's character, like I was saying, he definitely was one of the stronger characters in the film. Honestly, he's easily the most relatable because he's, like I said, he's that guy who's literally willing to take any job to get his foot in the door so he can become a star or so he can become a big Hollywood director. Diego Calva played that part very well. Like, I thought he was absolutely incredible throughout the film. One thing that honestly pained me to see was how his relationship with Margot Robbie, how much he loved her, and he was literally willing to do anything for her, which, like I said, is definitely a testament to people's love in Hollywood and how they get attached to these actors and actresses and things like that, and they just don't even love them. They just don't care about them at all. Like, Margot Robbie literally was all over the place. She was doing so many drugs and things like that, but Diego Calva literally every time was willing to do whatever he could to save her career and save her life, but she didn't want it. It was very heartbreaking to see, man. It was very crazy throughout the film to just see his dedication not only to his art, but his dedication to Margot Robbie herself. Like, this dude really would do anything for her. And like I said, Diego Calva definitely gave one of the stronger performances in the film. I felt like I gave away too much about that a little bit, so I do apologize. But I mean, I'm not going to say too much more. Look, Diego Calva's performance was absolutely phenomenal. And now, honestly, I can't really move on to say anything I didn't like about the film because while there was things I didn't like, I really got most of that out of the way in, my method to madness type thing. Like I said, this film is very good. It's just there's so much chaos and nonsense going on. It's really a matter of what the people are actually going to walk away remembering from this film that actually will, affect your perception of it. Because I don't think everybody's going to come out saying that was a very powerful message depicting Hollywood and things like that. Because even sitting through Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the first watch of that film, a lot of people sat there and goes, that is not what I expected this to be. I might have to see that again to actually get it. The more, and that was honestly me for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the more I watched that film, the more I definitely got what Tarantino was trying to accomplish in that film, and it definitely shows now than it did when I first saw the film. But this one, while I do get absolutely what Damien Chazelle's trying to do, I don't think everybody else is going to get it. I don't think the average moviegoer is going to watch this film and go, oh, I understood that completely. No, they're going to go, dude, that was long. Now, they're gonna go, dude, that was long as hell and crazy as fuck. Like what the hell did I just watch? Like, a lot of people are just gonna probably have that reaction to it. Now, as far as the runtime in this film, I will say compared to Avatar, this film has a lot faster pace. Like I said, it's very comparable to Wolf of Wall Street in that sense, where it's a 3-hour cocaine thrill ride where you're really moving through a lot of stuff pretty rapidly. So it's really not a slow-paced film like Avatar. Like Avatar, I'll say this, you feel that 3 hours. Wolf of Wall Street is the fastest 3-hour film I've ever seen in my life. I mean, from beginning, like literally get there in no time. This film is probably like second rate to Wolf of Wall Street. It definitely has a faster pace, and it definitely has a fast pace. It slows down towards the end, but the ending is where this film makes its pivotal point. It's the strongest point of the entire film. The last like 40 to 45 minutes of this film is the strongest point of this film, that the whole film has to make. It's something that a lot of people are going to hopefully have resonate with them, but like I said, I'm not necessarily sure what you're going to remember because there's a lot to remember in this film. Like I said, literally when the credits rolled, I sat there just completely overwhelmed by everything I saw. I needed that movie to just sit with me. I literally had to have that movie shit with me because I took a crazy shit after that movie. Oh my God. I don't know why I keep telling y'all that, but I mean, yeah, that was my experience in the film. So overall, guys, look, Babylon, while having a very enticing premise and having one or a lot of just entertaining, maddening, crazy scenes, while it does have a method to all that madness, I just feel like the method just shows its head way too late in the film for people who aren't necessarily big lovers of film, like, to actually, see where this movie's trying to take you. Like, it takes a second to get there because you got to get through all the craziness and the madness throughout the film. But once you get to the method, it's a very strong, valid lesson there that I think, a lot of people should see because it really portrays just the entire visual sense, or essentially it just really pertains like the whole portrayal of how Hollywood works in general, man. How a lot of actors go into crazy depressions, how a lot of actors, can't really handle their fall off of fame, things like that. Like how a lot of actors and actresses end up in those days at least were just disappearing weirdly. Like it really details a lot about just Hollywood life in general, and it's a very strong message. And I see what Damien Chazelle was trying to do, but look, this is where him And Denis Villeneuve, in my opinion, Denis Villeneuve is my favorite director of all time. That's why I'm bringing him up. This is where him and Denis Villeneuve kind of separate for me, because Denis Villeneuve just hits on every focal aspect of his films. Damien Chazelle in this one, like all his other films, absolutely phenomenal. In this film, though, I felt like he was just trying to do a little too much as far as just portraying the craziness. Like, I feel like you can show how crazy Hollywood is to an extent and still be able to get your point across. I feel like it just really depends on whatever. Like, there's a lot to remember in this film. There's a lot that can either sit with you or a lot that you're probably just going to want to forget. It really just depends on how this film is just perceived by you at the end of the day. Personally, I enjoyed it. It did take me a while to get to this rating, but I was able to get to a rating, guys. And for all those reasons and so many more, I'm going to give Babylon a 3.25 out of 5 stars. Alright guys, so that's my review for Babylon. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Please be sure to leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this film, because there's a lot to depict from it, and this is a movie where I think it has like a 59 or like a 58 on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Not that that means a lot to anybody, but I mean, that means that there's a lot of conversation needing to be had about this film, and I just want to see what you guys' thoughts are. But I really appreciate you guys for watching this review. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you guys. Appreciate it. I'm recording this on Christmas, so that's why I'm saying it. But Merry Christmas to you all. I really appreciate everyone who watches these videos so far, everyone who's subscribed. You guys are awesome. Like, you have no idea. I'm very grateful to all of you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Look, be sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and so much more. This is your guy in the chair. More content coming to you soon.